Now, this is Lucia Domesle from T19 AM course, Facilitator Training of AoB. This is my book review of Peter Levine Waking the Tiger. This is, to my opinion, one of the most important books on healing trauma, so it's really justified to put it on the mandatory reading list for the AoB training. As a licensed psychotherapist, I heard and read about Peter Levine already some 2 decades ago when I took some courses on trauma healing, and I own this book in a German translation. It's not going too far calling him one of the most important fathers of trauma therapy. The book is meant for the use of health professionals as well as lay people. Levine explains in an easily understandable language what a trauma is, how it builds, how it shows up in symptoms and in behavior, and he shows many feasible ways to get out of its grip. I deeply appreciate his definition of trauma not as a disease in meaning of an illness, but as a dis minus ease, as a result of having been forcefully pushed out of inner balance or of having been disrupted in the natural reaction to a threat. Referring to Levine's view, I want to speak about the enormous worldwide societal trauma which was imposed onto us by the so-called pandemic. Or let's better say by the policies that were executed on the peoples all over the planet, which had been planned and modeled by the most influential and extremely rich clique of guys. I believe that COVID was not a natural disaster, but a man-fabricated trauma. What brought me to this way of seeing it? I had taken once a course in emergency psychology at the beginning of my practice, where I learned that the most important thing in a catastrophic situation is to calm the people, to do a profound reality check, and to look for all possibilities to minimize the damage. But the responsible politicians did just the opposite of that. They surpassed themselves each day in fear-mongering and spreading their destructive messages. They mandated useless and even harmful and damaging measures, and they neglected completely the principles of good scientific practice. Whether it was a worldwide experiment or even the biggest crime ever or both, I can't tell that. But I do see the results of it now in a disrupted and split society with a tremendous rise of emotional and mental illnesses, especially among the most vulnerable group, our children. In Austria and Germany, which were and still are among the countries with the most rigid restrictions, more than a half of children and young people under 18 suffer from mental illnesses, mostly anxiety and depression, but also typical trauma-related symptoms and behavior changes. Meanwhile, there has been installed a system of professional help, but the work with these traumatized youngsters brings even the professionals to their limits. So I feel called to action to assist these professionals in releasing their own trauma in an easily accessible setting such as a Zoom call with a breathwork session, for example. So this book is still my companion, and it was already and will be a very useful tool for my work. Thank you.